Hi, Cook Cardinals! For our reading lesson today, we are going to read the next chapter of The Earth Dragon Awakes. I hope that you enjoyed listening to Mrs. Auden read the first chapter, and if you haven't, it might be a good idea to listen to her video first, since this is a chapter book and we wouldn't want you to miss key details. I'm going to be reading from the book online, which can be accessed through your Clever account, just so you know. And if you've never done that before, check in with your teacher for directions, but you certainly don't have to have the text in your hand like I don't. And this is just a listening reading lesson. And then you will find on your weekly slides that you do have a comprehension response. And so for this second section, similar to yesterday's lesson where you thought about the different points of views of Mr. and Mrs. Travis, I believe it was, and how they were feeling. Today, from the section I will read, we are also comparing and contrasting two characters' points of view. And the two characters we'll read about are Aquan and Ah Sing, and we are going to see how they have different feelings about the animals that we read about. So I just made myself a little sentence starter, and hopefully it can help you if you go in and type in your response. So how do their points of view differ? How are they different? So here is our second section for today, Tuesday, and I'm starting on page 8, reading until page 16. All right. This section has a title that says, "It is late evening, Tuesday, April 17th, 1906, deep beneath San Francisco. Mr. Travis is wrong. The earth is not solid. Deep in the center of the earth, it is very hot. It is so hot that even rocks melt. To us, the land and ocean seem huge, but they are only the surface of our world. Compared to the Earth's core, the surface is very thin. It floats on the hot core like a pie crust. The surface itself is broken into pieces called plates. Each bit of land and sea is on some plate. Tall mountains and deep sea floors, people, animals, fish, and forests are all on top of these plates. San Francisco is on the edge of the North American plate. Next to it is the Pacific plate, which holds the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific plate moves 2 inches to the northwest every year. That seems slow to us. Your fingernails grow that much in 12 months. The 2 plates shove each other like 2 wrestlers. The place where they meet is called the San Andreas Fault. It stretches for 650 miles from the southwest to the northeast and reaches 10 miles wide in some places. Many other smaller cracks branch from it like twigs from a tree. The 2 plates bump and grind against each other all the time. Usually no one feels it, but sometimes they shove very hard. We call those earthquakes. Did you know that? Second graders had some time to build up their background about earthquakes. So this chapter is sharing some of those facts that you maybe already knew. Over the years, the earth has moved many times under San Francisco, but it has been 38 years since the last strong earthquake. People have forgotten how bad they can be, but they will soon remember." So next I have a section. So that little chapter was just 2 pages and gave us a little perspective about really what is happening with the earth as the earthquake is ready to take place. So now our next section we have late evening, Tuesday, April 17th, 1906. Excuse me. That was I had to turn the page. Okay. So now we have midnight, Wednesday, April 18th, 1906. So So we know that at midnight, the new day starts. And this now, the setting, which we're changing our um, perspective to, is in Chinatown. Chin and Henry are supposed to sleep. Instead, they read by the light of the street lamps. They are still reading when Henry's parents come home. Mr. Travis has managed to lose yet another umbrella. Mrs. Travis gives Chin a piece of candy before he leaves the house. "Don't let Mr. Travis know I gave this to you," she says with a wink, "or he'll turn the house upside down to find my secret hoard." Ah Sing and Chin leave the Travis house. As they wait for the cable car, Chin eats Mrs. Travis's candy. He thinks about his own mother. "Do you think Mother misses us?" he asks his father. "Every day," his father responds. Chin will have to spend most of his life here, like his father. Will Chin forget his mother after a while? "Do you miss Mother?" he asks his father. "Every day," his father says. It seems like forever before the cable car comes. Chin can feel the book hidden under his shirt. He can't wait to get back to it. When he reads, he forgets his boredom. He forgets his loneliness. When the cable car finally arrives, sleepy Chinese climb down. Like Ah Sing and Chin, they work in the houses. They also live in them. But tonight, on their night off, they have gone into Chinatown. Ah Sing and Chin could have stayed with the Travises too, but Ah Sing insists they live in Chinatown. He doesn't want Chin to forget his Chinese. So second graders, if you recall, Chinatown is just a small section of San Francisco. And many people who moved to San Francisco from China started living in that area, and then it became known as Chinatown. Okay, let me keep reading. Their fellow houseboys fuss over Chin. He reminds them of the children they left behind in China. He usually welcomes their attention. Tonight, though, he is impatient. He wants to read more of his new book. He climbs quickly onto the cable car. The crew greets him. They are friends with their Chinese passengers. They even wear silver pins of a dragon. The jewelry is a gift from the houseboys. The car lurches forward. The cable rattles and hums. Like a long metal snake, it wriggles along its track. The gripman hooks the cable car onto it. The cable car hitches a ride on the moving cable. Silvery tracks lead up and down hills. On the crest, Chin sees San Francisco spread out before them. Street lamps glitter like jewels. I'm really getting a visual picture here of this description. American houses perch shoulder to shoulder like pigeons. Beyond them rise the tall buildings of the business district. Some of them tower so high that people say they scrape the sky. They call them skyscrapers. Chin usually enjoys the view. Tonight, he only wants the cable car to go faster. Chin and his father say goodbye to the cable car crew and get off in Chinatown. It is so much bigger than his village in China. There are around 10,000 Chinese who live here, but not all of them speak the same dialect as he does. Though they come from China, he cannot always understand them. So it is home and yet not home to Chin. Even the buildings are different. They are all so much taller than the ones in his village. Some are 3 or even 4 stories high. A few look like the Chinese ones Chin saw in Hong Kong before he got on the ship to come here. Most are American buildings. They look so plain compared to the ones at home. There are no tiled roofs or carved windows. But the Chinese have added signs and decorations to them. The American buildings look like they are wearing Chinese disguises. Though it is late, Chinatown is still very busy. Chinese shop in the stores. They eat in the restaurants. Americans dine with them. Some are ladies in evening dress and gentlemen in top hats. Some are in costume with roller skates draped over their chairs. They have been to the carnival. Chin can't wait to get back to their room, but his father drags him all over Chinatown on dull errands. He picks up a couple of Chinese newspapers, then he buys a bag of apples for the Travises. Mrs. Travis hopes she can get Mr. Travis to eat them instead of cake. Chin has his doubts about that. Everywhere they go, Ah Sing bumps into friends. He always stops to chat. Chin follows his father impatiently. Finally, they return to their tenement. As they pass the little temple, their neighbor Ah Quan comes out. He dodges around a wagon and crosses the street to them. I'm going to pause for a moment. So we know our first character, whose point of view we're going to be thinking about, is Ah Sing, although I wrote him second. That's Chin's father. And right now, Ah Sing is taking Chin around Chinatown, although it's the middle of the night, doing a few errands before they go back to their house or their tenement from the Travis household. And they are just bumping into one of their neighbors named Ah Quan. So let's see if they have a discussion, a dialogue about animals, because our question says, how do Ah Quan's feelings and Ah Sing's feelings about animals differ? So let me go back to my text, but I just wanted to keep my comprehension question in mind. Chin groans silently. Ah Quan means another delay. Worse, he always stinks of blood from his work in the butcher shop. A butcher shop is a person who is a butcher, and that means working in a store selling meat. Many people avoid him because of that. He goes to the temple every night. He says he needs all the help he can get. Next to the priest, he prays more than anyone in Chinatown. Tonight, though, he has been asking heaven to keep the earth dragon quiet. The animals in his shop have been frightened. So in his butcher shop, he must have some animals that are still living before he would then process them to, well, maybe be sold as alive or process them to be sold as meat for people to buy to consume. So the animals in his shop have been frightened. If I were a chicken and saw your knife, I'd be scared too, Ah Sing says. But not this way. They're terrified, Ah Quan says. At home, animals know when there's going to be an earthquake. He scratches his head. I can't blame the earth dragon if he gets upset. There are all these people stomping on his ceiling. He begins to tiptoe. Oh, the earth dragon has shaken this city before, Ah Sing laughs. We're still holding on to his back. Like fleas on a dog, Ah Quan grins nervously. But what if he gets really mad? Ah Sing does not take Ah Quan's fears seriously. He slaps his friend on the back. We've been through lots of earthquakes here. If you're still alive, you pick up and go on. Chin thinks about Henry's dog, Sawyer. Silently, he asks the earth dragon to keep his temper. So second graders, before I finish this section, do you remember that the earth dragon is what the Chinese people are calling an earthquake? There's not really a dragon in the earth, but that is just like a nickname they're giving, and maybe even a belief that they feel that the earth does have some type of emotion to think about. If the earth dragon gets mad, then a bad earthquake will happen.